Good Morning San Antonio starts right now.
And a good morning to you. It is Tuesday, May 16th.
Thanks for joining us. Hope you had a good morning. The weather was nice when you step out the door. It's a big change from the humidity greeting you in the morning.
Very pleasant. Only 72 out there. Here's Justin.
Yeah, it has been a nice morning. And if you remember yesterday, we got some cooling downpours during the afternoon. I think we're going to see a similar setup again today. This is kind of our last day before things shut down a little bit. We still have a disturbance off to our west, a little area of low pressure. That's going to be able to give us just enough lift to get some of those afternoon showers and storms going. So most of us will stay dry. There is a chance, though, you could see a little bit of rain, a little bit more rain today, which is great. It's been a nice stretch. Here's a look at some of the weather headlines. Some random pop-ups, humid today. Quieter weather for the rest of the work week and hotter, too. We'll get temperatures up near 90. The weekend does bring a return of some isolated showers and storms. Right now, 73 and mostly cloudy. Dew point is at 66. The wind is variable at 4. Just 4. That's it. As we look at the KSAT 12-hour forecast, 74 at 10 a.m. We'll be up near 80 by noontime. Then we start to add in a 30% chance of rain into the afternoon. 82 is where we top out, I think. If you do get some rain, it'll cool us down into the 70s, and then our rain chances will end tonight. Once the sun goes down, we lose the daytime heating. More on the rest of the forecast. We're also going to take a look at what some of this recent rainfall has done for us with the rivers and the aquifer as well. That's coming up in just a bit. Let's get over to Stephen now. It has been somewhat of a busy morning, I'm guessing.
It has, Justin, and unfortunately, some of the problems have not dwindled down. We're going to start here at 35 at Lexington, the lower levels. You can see behind me, we have at least 3 lanes that were blocked off there, and some of them have actually reopened. It looks like now it's just down to 1 lane, but we actually had a crash that was reported out there. We saw a San Antonio fire unit. I didn't spot any paramedics, but definitely a heavy first responder presence. In fact, some of them still actually walking along the lower levels. So you want to watch out if you're traveling along I-35 southbound, not too far from McCullough Avenue. But not the only problem that we have been watching very closely. Unfortunately, we did have that deadly MV-PED that was reported here at Military Drive near Luke Boulevard, just outside JBSA Lackland. Let's get a look at the scene. Katrina Weber was actually there earlier this morning, and what we're learning from her is that this crash all started just before 6 this morning. Again, that was at West Military Drive near the JBSA Lackland entrance. In fact, those westbound lanes had to be shut down completely. Eastbound lanes, we saw at least one was open, so that way folks can make their way into JBSA Lackland. But unfortunately, as I mentioned, one person did die. We are learning from police that the man was actually walking in the middle of the street when he was struck by a vehicle. That man was then run over, unfortunately, by several more vehicles, all of which did stop to render aid, according to police. But again, that man was pronounced dead at the scene. Emergency crews were out there for quite some time, and we did see a big backup out there. Now, no word yet on that man's identity or his age, but you could see, again, a very heavy first responder presence, and we're still seeing some of the buildup out here as we take it back to the map. Some of it there, again, where we saw the westbound lanes were completely shut down. Eastbound lanes, 1 lane was open to allow access into JBSA Lackland. But other than that, the morning has been off to a pretty busy start, but we're getting a wide look now at things, and thankfully, a lot of it has dwindled down. Plenty of green on the screen, but we get it back here on TransGuide, and we're going to continue to watch this area closely, and if anything else pops up on the roadways, we'll be sure to let you know about it. Mark, stuff.
Right now, we want to get to late-breaking news. Crews are on the scene of a fire at what used to be a Japanese restaurant.
It's happening on Wurzbach Road near Gardendale, just west of I-10. Tiffany Huertas arrived at the scene a short time ago.
Tiffany, what can you tell us?
Good morning, Mark and Stephanie. Still a very active scene. A spokesperson for the San Antonio Fire Department says no one was hurt, and it's unclear what caused the fire, but they're still here trying to put out any hot spots at this former restaurant near the corner of Data Point Drive and Wurzbach Road. And we want to show you images from earlier. The restaurant was engulfed in flames. Several fire trucks, EMS units, ambulances, and police units arrived to the scene. This is a former Japanese restaurant, and it's not in operation. Fire officials say they were able to do a partial search of the building and found nobody inside. Now, the cause of the fire is still under investigation, and fire units are still here at the scene. There was traffic earlier due to this, and a portion of Wurzbach was closed, but now it's back open. We spoke to some residents who were concerned, but we're happy to know that no one was hurt. We will bring you the latest coming up on the noon show. We'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Tiffany. In your morning headlines, parents in New York City keeping kids out of school because of who's moving into their gym. And the washing checks scam is making a clean comeback.
Plus, another unusual way to hide drugs that didn't work, and living under the sea to see if it can help living in space. David Sears is here to explain all of this.
Good morning, David.
Good morning. Started talking about this story, and then all of a sudden I'm singing Under the Sea.
Aw, well, yeah.
Makes sense.
So there you go.
Catchy.
So we'll get to that in just a second, but first let's start with this. There are some pretty upset parents in New York City after they found out that the gym where their kids go to school has become a temporary home for migrants. Moms and dads decided not to drop their students off at the school in Brooklyn after they saw groups of asylum seekers lined up outside. They were all adults, no children. Mayor Adams says the city is in the midst of a humanitarian crisis, and they're opening these temporary shelters because they are out of space. Still doesn't sit well with a lot of parents, although some are there, they don't mind that much.
Should they be in there with those adults? Those are men and women. We don't know where these people come from. It's the mayor and it's the chancellor. I really blame the chancellor.
Everybody needs a chance in life, you know? Everybody's going through something.
Even though those shelters are temporary, no one can tell parents how long the temporary will be. The city also planned to house more migrants in a couple of other schools. If you still write checks to pay your bills, or that's how you send money to loved ones, or maybe you get checks in the mail, beware, those checks could be getting washed. It is an age-old scam, and it's making a comeback. The scammers get a hold of a legitimate check. They dip it in a chemical solution, something like acetone. You find that in nail polish remover. Apparently, it is good as an ink remover as well. The ink you use to fill out the amount and sign, it washes off. They change the numbers and signature and get rich.
Once the check dries, you can write whatever you want. We've heard of scammers using, taking, just the name off, and not taking off the whole number. Like, let's say it's a $50 check. They'll make it a $150 check.
Now, the U.S. Inspector's Postal Service says they recover more than $1 billion in counterfeit checks and money orders every year. And a warning about those Postal Service mailboxes, the blue mailboxes that sit on the corner. There are fewer, which means more mail in the ones still around. And that makes them a nice target after the last pickup of the day. Experts say go paperless whenever you can, or use indelible gel black ink. It's a little harder to wash. And this is the deputy. Yes, he's posing with a fake belly to show us just how a new method of transporting cocaine was tried. That fake belly belonged to this woman. She was pulled over in Anderson County, South Carolina by the deputy. He thought there was something suspicious when the woman and the man she was with couldn't agree on a due date for the baby. The woman then took off running, and lo and behold, instead of a baby, she was carrying 3 pounds of cocaine in that fake rubber belly. All that cocaine fell out while she tried to escape. The man and woman are charged with trafficking cocaine. And meet Joseph Deturi. He is a record-setting professor. He is living in this craft. It's made of glass and steel. He's 30 feet down at the Jules Undersea Lodge in Key Largo. He has been underwater for more than 74 days, the longest stretch for a human. He hopes to reach 100 days. He is studying the effects of extreme pressure on the body, and while he is conducting experiments, he's also conducting class via Zoom, passing along his knowledge and experience that might be a help for those headed into space.
And, I'm trying to find out what happens in the isolated, confined, extreme environment, which is very much akin to space travel. So we're going to be stuck in that tube for 200 days to get to Mars. This is just a preliminary experiment to figure out what happens when you're stuck in a tube underwater for 100 days.
Interesting. I didn't know you could get to Mars in 200 days.
The video. Hi, guys.
Yeah, look at that. So
hopefully he's got good Wi-Fi down there, right?
Apparently.
I guess if he can conduct class,
or he's taking some killer naps.
He's doing class. So I also thought of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Yeah.
But I figured, like most people would know.
Under the Sea.
Nemo.
Yeah.
So I went with.
Yeah. Actually, I say Under the Sea. That's Sebastian from Little Mermaid. I think, right?
Yeah.
Sounds right.
Okay.
So there you go. So we'll see if that works in space.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, David. Right now, 9:07, 72 degrees. There's much more ahead coming up on GMSA at 9.
Including today's top stories in the 9 at 9. Plus, the San Antonio Police Department is trying to be more proactive when it comes to property crimes. So they're taking steps to address the issues. However, not everyone at the department is happy with the changes being made. KSAT investigates and finds out why later in the show.
Welcome back. 11 minutes past the hour from important talks trying to resolve the debt ceiling crisis. to a look ahead to the busy Memorial Day weekend travel period.
Here's today's 9 at 9.
President Biden is expected to meet again with top congressional leaders today to discuss the U.S. debt ceiling. It comes as Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen issued another warning that the U.S. could potentially breach on its debt as soon as June 1st. So far, neither side is willing to budge on their stance on the matter.
A motive for a deadly mass shooting in a residential neighborhood of New Mexico remains unclear. Authorities say an 18-year-old man opened fire along a residential street, killing 3 people and injuring several others, including 2 officers. Other responding officers were able to take the shooter down.
The former leaders of Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank are set to testify on Capitol Hill today. They will answer questions from the Senate Banking Committee. Since those banks failed in March, the Federal Reserve and the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation have detailed mistakes by bank management as well as federal regulators.
Wells Fargo is agreeing to pay $1 billion to settle a class action lawsuit over its cleanup after the 2016 fake accounts scandal. The money is going to shareholders amid accusations the bank overstated how fast it was moving. The deal still has to be approved by a judge.
U.S. Postal Service is beefing up mail security amid a rise in theft. They are installing 12,000 high-security blue collection boxes around the country. In addition, USPS is updating the process for change of address requests to prevent identity theft.
The price of eggs has gone way down. Last week, Midwest large eggs were just 94 cents a dozen wholesale. That is down from a whopping $5.46 a dozen 6 months ago. Those are wholesale prices, though. You're likely paying more at your local grocery store. The drop comes from supply getting back on track and demand not outpacing it.
American household debt has surpassed $17 trillion, a new high. Americans increased debt across nearly all categories, but the largest balances were for mortgages, home equity lines of credit, auto loans, student loans, and retail cards. Experts attribute this growth to inflation, spending increases, and typical consumer behavior.
Cars across America are getting older and older. New S&P Global Mobility shows the average age of a passenger vehicle has hit a new record high, 12 and a half years. Pandemic-fueled high prices helping to convince a lot of drivers to stay with their old rides.
AAA believes this could be the busiest Memorial Day weekend at airports since 2005. The organization expects an increase in air travel of 11% over last year. Highways will be crowded too, with an estimated 37 million people road tripping, a 6% increase. This could be a sign of a hot summer travel season. AAA says this summer could be record-setting, especially for airports. And that's today's 9.
And let's look out there with live cam. Shaping up to be a nice morning at 73 degrees. No complaints from me.
It's not been a bad stretch. I mean, this rainfall's been good. I know we probably didn't get as much as we wanted in some cases, but the river and the aquifer have responded. And so I think that, we're on the up and up. It's looking better and better. We do need some more rain, though, and we've said that for a long, long time, but it's just the way it goes. Here's a look at the Guadalupe River. The stream flow is at 57 cubic feet per second there around Kerrville. You see 38. Comfort, Spring Branch is at 88. And look, these numbers are not huge, but they are up from where they were. And so, again, we're trending in the right direction. There's a look at the averages, and we're definitely below average. There is no doubt about that. But we have a lot to make up here, a lot to make up for after just a very long drought. So these numbers hopefully will continue to go up, and if we get a little more rain, we'll keep adding to it. But the Guadalupe River looking better than it has in a long while. So too is the aquifer. It's up to 646, which is still about 20 feet below the average. But this is the highest level we've had since May of 2022. So we had about a year here with some really, really low numbers, and it's trying to come up some after those rains over the weekend. And yesterday was nice too. We have a pretty similar setup. Now, if you look at water vapor right there over eastern parts of Mexico, you can see a swirl in the atmosphere. That is a disturbance that brought some rain yesterday. It's still there. It's going to weaken today, but I think it still gives us some lift. And as we get some daytime heating, the atmosphere becomes unstable. And I think we'll get some of those pop-up downpours today. Not severe weather, but just some rainfall here and there. So let me show you one of our computer models. And it does show that by 4 o'clock, we've got these pop-up downpours, which does include here in San Antonio. And that could impact the evening commute, depending on where and when these pop up. It's just impossible to know. But I'd say between 2 and maybe 8, 9 o'clock, that's kind of your time frame where we could see some of that activity. And then tonight it just goes away with the loss of daytime heating. Tomorrow, this does show a stray shower storm, but I'd say it's 10% or less. Tomorrow's going to be far quieter. Here's a look at the KSAT 12-hour forecast. 77 at 11 o'clock, 79 noontime. Not a lot of wind today. Winds will be light, but there's your 30% chance of rain, 2 p.m. through the dinner time hours, and then through 8 o'clock, we'll keep it in there, but then start to taper it off with the loss of daytime heating. 73 right now. Dew point is at 66, and we've got very, very light winds and pretty nice morning underway. Cloud cover, it'll be off and on today. You'll see some sun from time to time, and then the clouds will fill back in, and you'll see the clouds bubble up into some storms, and then the sun will come back out. And you know how that feels. Once you get a quick downpour and then the sun pops back out, it's humid and muggy, but that's just kind of the setup that we're in. And so far, I don't see anything here that shows that we've got storms trying to build yet. Again, that probably holds until after the lunch hour. 72 in New Braunfels, 73 Hondo, 71 Pleasanton, 71 Kennedy, 74 right now in Cotulla, right into the low 70s here around town. These numbers will warm up pretty quickly. And dew points in the mid-60s, so it's muggy out there. It's not overly humid, but it is muggy. And as we look forward, the dew points stay pretty steady here. I do think we'll get a weak front on Saturday. That may bring dew points down a little bit. May also kick off a few showers and storms. So we've added some rain chances, or at least up the rain chances just a little bit Saturday and Sunday. Got our chances today, and then a quiet stretch Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then with that frontal boundary, it cools us down a little bit Saturday. I think Sunday we got a little disturbance rolling through. We could see some pop-up showers and storms. Certainly not a situation where you want to cancel weekend plans, but kind of like the last couple of days, we'll have that activity perhaps popping up on radar.
At least it's not a whole lot of rain now.
No, no. It looks like just kind of the scattered stuff that if you're lucky enough to get underneath one of the downpours, you may get some good rain, but it's just random.
All right. Thank you, Justin.
You got it.
Looking forward to that drought report on Thursday.
Yes, me too.
Thank you, Justin. 918, 73 degrees.
And here's a look at what's coming up next.
Good morning. You might be wondering, why is there a truck hanging in the middle of the air? Well, I ask you, why don't enough people wear their seatbelts? Good morning, I'm Max Massey. We are here with the latest TxDOT Click It or Ticket campaign. We're going to have much more in just a few moments.
By up to 45%.
But despite that number, many Texas launching their Click It or Ticket campaign again.
Max Massey joins us live from the Tobin Center just down.
Good morning, guys. Well, take a look. Not every day you see a truck hanging in the middle. You see the same material that seatbelts are made of. So joined here with Captain, why?
So you don't want to, move a few minutes away. The crashes will move with you.
No, that makes sense. And so you said 10% of Texans. What about here in San Antonio? What do those numbers look like?
Well, in San Antonio, we had many fatality crashes last year, but 98 fatality or serious crashes where the occupants were unsecured. So, and of those, over a third, 35 of them were fatality crashes from unsecured people in the vehicle.
in terms of click it or ticket? Are you guys going to be out there full force enforcing the law?
Absolutely. That's what we're here for. That's what we're partnered with TxDOT. We're going to have officers working on extra duty, specifically looking for seatbelt and child safety seat violations. And if you don't buckle up, they will ticket.
Captain Starnes, thank you so much for your time today.
Absolutely. Happy to help.
Guys, if you have any questions, concerns about the Click It or Ticket campaign, TxDOT, SAPD, we're going to have all those answers, of course, at the news at noon and KSAT.com. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Max.
Time check, just about 6:20, or rather 9:25. Why do we do that? I guess from doing the early morning
Feels
show
like
for
another
so
day.
long,
Yes.
it just never ends.
Yeah.
9:25, 73 degrees. There is more ahead on GMSA at 9.
Including a look ahead to the NBA Drought lottery tonight. David will be back with us to talk about the Spurs' chances of getting the #1 draft pick next month.
But before that, San Antonio police looking to make some changes to better respond to property crimes in our area. KSAT investigates why some people in the department are not happy about the changes being made.
And a quick look at the roads with TransGuide looking over there at I-35 at Lexington. It looks like that whole lane is closed. We are going to be checking with Stephen Cavazos after the break.
Let's get a wider look at TransGuide. I've been keeping a very close eye on this throughout the morning. In fact, this earlier we saw at least 3 lanes, and now it looks like the road is completely closed. Remember, this is a lower level there at 35, and we are seeing a pretty big backup there on our map. We'll show you that in just a moment, but we do have obviously first responders on the scene along with other TxDOT hero trucks.
It's a property crimes unit moving more than 50 detectives and half a dozen sergeants to its academic court location just south of downtown.
SAPD believes it needs to be more proactive in how it investigates property crime, so that's why they're making some moves. But as KSAT investigates, as Dylan Collier found, not everyone within the department is on board with the change.
We realized that we weren't being efficient and effective right now.
Which is why San Antonio Police Assistant Chief Karen Falks says a major overhaul is now in the works. Property crimes detectives and supervisors currently assigned to the department's 6 substations will all be reassigned to academic court and rebranded as the Property Crimes Task Force, possibly as soon as next month. The goal? To improve communication among investigators and to better identify thieves who are hitting different parts of town.
But what we're doing today is we're sitting back, waiting for those crimes to happen, and they're getting reported to us, and then we go out and investigate. The plan now is to be in front of it before it occurs.
But the intelligence-driven, offender-focused approach has drawn criticism. Detectives who spoke with KSAT questioned whether academic court has room for another centralized unit. Some rank and file have also told KSAT crime victims living in the outer parts of San Antonio will now have to travel long distances for follow-up reports or to retrieve their property. Falk says to address this, a few detectives will move about the city, getting paperwork signed or even returning stolen belongings.
We understand that that's a drive for some folks, and it may be inconvenient, but we're going to make this as convenient and as efficient for the community as we possibly can.
Falks added that facilities maintenance will knock down walls if they have to in order to make more room. The new unit will cover 20 hours a day, a 10-hour shift during the day and a 10-hour shift at night. And SAPD will nearly triple the number of detectives who work weekends. For KSAT Investigates, I'm Dylan Collier.
And let's look out there with live cam. Now it's 74 degrees. I know we heard earlier that some people may see rain, but not a whole lot of people today.
It's going to be the hit or miss type random pop-up stuff, but there will be activity on the radar. I feel confident of that this afternoon. It's just a matter of whether or not you're the lucky one, you get some rain. Hey, I want to take you up to the Pacific Northwest. These folks have been baking. Look at the high in Seattle yesterday, 88. It was 92 in Portland yesterday, so a lot hotter up there than it is where we are. You don't see that all the time, but they've got a ridge of high pressure that's been cranking up the temperatures. Still see a little bit of a cool down today, but still hot. Phoenix was at 103 yesterday, New Orleans 91, Memphis 91. So all in all, we've been doing pretty well lately. We only got up to 81 yesterday, and that was due in large part to rain. We had some showers and storms. Right now, it's 73, mostly cloudy. Dew point is at 66. And as we look at the KSAT 12-hour forecast, there is going to be about a 30% chance of some isolated storms this afternoon. Temperatures right around 82. Now, if we see a rainstorm, then you'll see these numbers go down a little bit into the 70s. But with some sun, I do think we'll make it into the low 80s. And rain chances hold till about 8 p.m. and then we'll start to taper them off with the loss of daytime heating. What about down the line? So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, honestly, will be pretty quiet days. But Saturday and Sunday, rain chances do come back with some more isolated downpours around the area. We'll talk more about that weekend forecast. And take a look at some KSAT Connect pictures, too, coming up in just a few minutes, guys.
Thank you, Justin. Who will blink first, the White House or congressional leaders? Another round of debt ceiling talks are scheduled for today. At stake, a fragile U.S. economy in post-pandemic tatters, already on the brink of a costly recession.
Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen warning of dire consequences for most Americans if the impasse isn't resolved in the next 3 weeks. The clock is ticking on an event many experts agree could wreck the U.S. economy. Here's ABC's Justin Finch.
In the run-up to round 2 of debt ceiling talks, the president and the House Speaker offering opposing views on their progress.
I really think there's a desire on their part as well as ours to reach agreement. I think we'll be able to do it.
President Biden said that you made progress. Are you too far apart?
No, the negotiations themselves, there's nothing moved.
Before agreeing to raise the debt limit, Speaker McCarthy is insisting the White House cut trillions in federal spending.
We've made it plain to our Republican colleagues that default is not an option. Its consequences are too damaging, too severe.
Staffers for the president, the speaker, and top congressional Democrats have held ongoing meetings since those leaders held face-to-face talks last week. Today, the leadership is set to meet again. Sources say they're reviewing proposals that would claw back unspent COVID funds, streamline regulations for new energy projects, and impose stricter work requirements for certain federal aid programs. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen firing off another warning this week, saying that any further delay could leave the U.S. unable to pay its bills as soon as June 1st. Yellen noting that could cause severe hardship to American families, harm our global leadership position, and raise questions about our ability to defend our national security interests. The U.S. defaulting on its debts could halt Social Security payments, leave troops unpaid, and by one forecast, leave nearly 8 million people out of work. Secretary Yellen also cautioning that even an 11th hour deal could risk serious harm to U.S. business and consumer confidence, raise short-term borrowing costs, and threaten the U.S. credit rating. Justin Finch, ABC News, Washington.
The NBA Draft Lottery is tonight, and every Spurs fan is keeping fingers crossed that San Antonio can get the #1 pick.
Yes, we are. David is back with RJ to break this all down. Good morning.
Oof, yeah.
Well, here we go. We told you to mark your calendars, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Finally here, 7 o'clock tonight. So, Steph, go home and take a nap. Set your alarm for like 6:45 so you'll be awake at 7 o'clock when this thing happens. And
Please,
you'll know.
Steph, you're our rabbit's foot.
You
can
are.
help out.
Yeah.
With this.
We need all the luck we can need.
Okay.
I've seen Spurs fans posting some memes about lighting the candles.
Okay.
Lighting the candles tonight because this could be potentially franchise changing if they can land.
Again.
Obviously, the #1 pick. #2 would be pretty good as well.
So put on your Spurs outfit, your best Spurs outfit tonight.
My shiny one.
So now, what are the odds? What are the odds? We know what the odds are as far as the Spurs and the other two teams is 14%. But what are the odds of the Spurs getting the first pick in the NBA draft for a third time?
Wow.
What do you think?
I mean,
we hope, right?
We obviously do.
I don't
David Robinson, Tim Duncan. This would be amazing.
And then Victor.
Wemby.
Is that where we're going to go with? He's got to let us know what his nickname is.
Wemby.
Yeah.
Victor Wembanyama.
So Victor Wembanyama here, the French phenom, 7'3", 7'4", 8-foot wingspan. Basically a mix of Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and the most hyped prospect in the NBA draft
Sold.
since
We'll
LeBron
take him.
came out.
Yeah. Sounds good.
And he's French, so he knows Tony Parker.
Yeah.
He kind of knows what the Spurs are about as well.
So that would be season changer for next year. I mean, there would be no question about getting into the playoffs. It would be how far they could go into the playoffs next year. So if they get him, yeah, I would expect a playoff run. You know, there's two other guys that are considered one of the top 3 picks that the Spurs could possibly get. And then after that, if you go start reading about the rest of the guys down the line, that they all need to work on something.
Yeah.
It's always like, well, he's good at this, but he's not good at that, he's good at that. But the first 3 are pretty much good at everything that the Spurs would be looking for.
Yeah, that would be Scoot Henderson, a point guard, and then Brandon Miller, one of the top collegiate players last year coming out of Alabama. But again, I think either one of those 3 guys I think would work well, but Wembanyama is really the prize out of this lottery here.
So the question then becomes, if they don't get the first pick, they've got, what, 30-something picks between now and 2029? And
they have a lot of picks. I mean, basically, we're hoping that this one works out for us so we don't have to go through another sort of rebuilding season.
Right.
But definitely hoping this one works out. David, Peter J. Holt will be there. In attendance, the representative for the Spurs. His dad was there 26 years ago when the Spurs got Tim Duncan. So this will be the first time that Peter J. gets to be in person at the lottery.
Peter J's there. Steph is here, dressed up in her best Spurs outfit. People are lighting candles. We got, I mean, rabbit's foot. They're coming. I mean, people are digging through drawers looking for their rabbit's foot, aren't they? Like, I had one 10, 20 years ago. Where is it?
Hang the horseshoes up, folks. Otherwise, that looks
you know what? I go ahead and get a horseshoe.
There you go, yeah.
I got one of those.
Anything at this point. I mean, I'm trying to be more positive, guys. I'm very hopeful. Third time would certainly be the charm for our franchise.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Wow. Houston and Detroit are the other teams that are in the mix there for these top 3 players. So
they can wait.
Here. Yeah, we're good. Especially Houston. We don't need Houston.
That would be a thorn in our side.
Yeah, that
Houston
would not be
got
it.
No.
And the worst, I think, we decided the worst the Spurs could actually pick would be 7th.
Yeah.
So, and the lottery thing is just, I tried to read it and I was more confused after I read it all, and then I had to go back and read it again, and then I tried to read it, and then it was like, I'm still confused. I don't. They got.
Well, if you carry the
ping
one,
pong balls and all sorts of combinations. Yeah, you were trying to explain this to me.
Something about 1 through 14 and 1,000 combinations.
Well, and you know, Spurs fans, we like to overthink stuff. I've already seen some guys who are like, well, if Wemby doesn't work out, we could trade him and we could get this guy.
No, let's not
work out. We haven't got him yet.
Let's get the guy in the building first.
We have to get him
Let's get him in the building first.
All right, so 7 o'clock tonight, Steph.
Manifest it.
All right.
We know Mark will be up. I'm worried about Steph getting up. There you go. Steph. Do you have your Spur earrings too?
I need to get some.
I thought you had some.
Do that.
Yeah.
Hey, whatever you got.
Necklace.
Whatever you got.
Spurs pajamas, people. RJ and David, thank you guys.
All right.
Best
See you
of
tomorrow.
luck to all of us. 9:40, 75 degrees. You're watching GMSA at 9.
Memorial Day weekend is coming up fast, and if you're planning on taking a trip that weekend, you're not going to be alone on the road or at the airport. When we come back, what to keep in mind to keep your travel less stressful.
The unofficial start of summer just under 2 weeks away, and AAA says this Memorial Day will be one for the record books.
If you're among the millions of people driving or flying to their destinations, CNN Cole Higgins shares what you can expect and how to avoid all the headaches.
Get ready for a record-breaking Memorial Day. According to AAA, 42.3 million Americans are expected to travel 50 miles or more from home over the holiday weekend.
The desire to travel is high. It's back to what it was pre-pandemic.
Compared to 2022, that's a 7% increase or nearly 3 million more people. And AAA says it's a glimpse of what's ahead this summer travel season, saying roads and airports will be busier than before the pandemic.
More people feel comfortable flying now. More people are booking trips ahead of time. And what that shows is that there's a demand for flights despite inflation.
According to AAA, this Memorial Day weekend, we could see the busiest airports since 2005. AAA recommends booking the first flight in the morning since it has fewer disruptions than later flights. Don't check in bags and be flexible.
Have those plan Bs and plan Cs in effect, knowing that potentially you could run into delays or cancellations at the airport.
AAA says most travelers are expected to drive to their destination, while also noting car travel is still expected to be down from pre-pandemic levels by 500,000 travelers. Prices at the pump are likely fueling the increased demand for road trips. AAA says the national average for a gallon of gas is below $4, which is lower than it was last summer. AAA recommends avoiding the roads Friday afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. and Monday between noon and 3 p.m.
So if you can extend that weekend trip to Tuesday, perhaps, or maybe work remotely on Tuesday, come back Wednesday, play around with your schedule a little bit to avoid those big delays.
For Consumer Watch, I'm Cole Higgins.
Good news, folks. As real quick, a traffic mention, I-35 southbound lower level has now cleared at Lexington.
That is good news for people still on the roads commuting.
And you look at the TransGuide shot, the sun is out, so temperatures are starting to warm up. We'll be close to 80 here soon. I got a great picture here on KSAT Connect I want to show you. Speaking of the sun and the rain, this is what happens. You get these beautiful blooms. And this is B-ball. I believe I'm reading that correctly. Sylvia sent this in from Seguin. See, I'm not a plant expert, but I'm learning. Sarah Costa's teaching me. But that is a great shot, Sylvia. Thank you so much for sending that in. And the blooms are beautiful. You know, the rain really went a long way to helping us out here. And I want to show you the drought monitor. Now, this is from last week. We haven't got the new one in yet. That comes in Thursday. But you see where the exceptional drought was, and I want to show you where the rainfall was, how much rain we got in these areas. And so we have it outlined here, and the rainfall was plentiful, and I'm going to go through it one more time. But you can see that we did get rain in these areas, and it looks like it's not showing up. But the rainfall was good, and I think we're going to be able to erase a lot of this drought, which is what we're hoping for going forward. Speaking of rainfall, since May 1st, 2.84, that is above average. Since January 1st, 10.76, that is above average. Last year, we had 11.5, somewhere in that range total for the year. So we are less than an inch away from eclipsing last year's total rainfall, just to give you some perspective. This is all good news. And we have more chances today. There's an area of low pressure out in Mexico. It's spinning out here, and you can kind of detect the spin with the rain and the clouds. But with that there, we should still get lift. We're starting to see a little more development down here around Corpus Christi, and I think you'll start to see some showers and storms blossom as we head into the afternoon with the daytime heating, and our computer models show that. So by 4 p.m., this model does show some of these pop-up showers and storms. If you get underneath one, you could pick up a quick half-inch of rain, but it's just a matter of if you're the one that gets underneath where one of these develops, because they'll usually rain themselves out and then move right along. And by 8 o'clock does still show quite a bit of activity, but I think after that, well, you'll see a lot of the showers and storms go away, and we'll just be left with mostly cloudy skies tonight. Now, as far as tomorrow is concerned, a lot less coverage. We're just talking about a stray storm or two tomorrow, if that. Our forecast for today, 77 at 11 o'clock, 79 noontime. We bring the rain chances up to 30%, 2 o'clock, 3, 4, 5, even into the evening hours before we bring the numbers back down 9 to 10 o'clock. And temperatures top out near 82. Right now we're at 73 here in San Antonio, 73 Kelly, 71 Randolph, 74 at Stinson. And you see the cloud cover, still quite a bit of it. But it's going to be one of those days where you see some sun, then maybe some clouds roll in, maybe a storm pops up, and then the sun comes back out. So kind of variable. But I think right now, most of us are seeing partly to mostly cloudy skies. 72 New Braunfels, 75 Gonzales, 74 Kennedy, 74 right now in Cotulla, and then the low to mid 70s here in San Antonio right now. Extended forecast, 87 tomorrow, 89 Thursday, 91 on Friday, probably our warmest day, mostly sunny. Then as we get into Saturday, weak frontal boundary tries to come in. That may be enough to scare up a storm or two. We have raised rain chances to 30% on Saturday. Then on Sunday, we get a little disturbance that comes through, so some more chances. And even on Monday, looks like we'll have the opportunity for some isolated stuff. So this isn't a bad pattern. A little less active than it was last week, but still some chances here. And we'll take all that we can get because we know what is right around the corner. Once we hit mid-June, our rain chances like to shut off. So we need to keep adding to the bank here, and hopefully we will.
Our rain chances do tend to evaporate over a matter, it seems like days.
Yes.
It feels that way. It's just like the faucet shuts off. So.
I know. And I like that it brings the temperatures down just a little bit.
It helps. It does. Yeah.
Thanks, Justin.
950, 75 degrees.
And do you remember a little thing called the Blackberry? Well, it helped pave the way for the iPhone. When we come back, a look at a new movie about how the Blackberry came to be.
Do you remember your very first smartphone? Before Apple dominated the market, another company paved the way for the iPhone.
CNN's David Daniel looks at a new movie in theaters now that may bring back a few memories.
Picture a cell phone and an email machine all in one thing. There is a free wireless internet signal all across North America, and nobody has figured out how to use it.
The unlikely and relatively unknown story of the world's first widely used smartphone hits the big screen in Blackberry.
What do you call it?
It's called a Blackberry.
Huh. Try typing with your thumbs.
Most people don't really know the story behind Blackberry. It's one of the rare